All right, hello everyone. I'm here with Jim Lombardi in the interviews for the Ted Corbett Institute of Running. He was hand selected by Gary Corbett to give us some insight on some special people in his life. But first, I want to introduce you a little bit about Jim's past. He was born in 1942 in Montclair, New Jersey. His occupation is a retired teacher of physics at Allegheny College. He got his BA at Gettysburg in 1964, and he went on to get an MAT from Fairleigh Dickinson University in 1967 and a PhD in physics from Rutgers University in 1972. So we're talking with a real scholar here. He resides in Meadville, Pennsylvania, and he has a lot of interesting stories to tell us. He started running in 1959 at age 16 and ran track in high school, everything from the quarter mile to the half mile. Continued in college, where he ran cross country and track, and considered himself a short distance runner, a very good short distance runner, until 1969, when Jim met three people who changed his life forever. Jim's going to tell us all about that, and these people include Kurt Steiner, Joe Kleinerman, Ted Corbett, George Sheehan, and those people changed Jim's life forever. So, Jim, tell us about meeting these people and how they changed your life.
Oh, okay. I had graduated college, and Dick Clapp, who was a friend of mine in New Jersey, who had already graduated from Gettysburg, asked me if I wanted to go with him to a race in Binghamton, New York, where they would run 12 miles. Now that I had run distances like that, but very seldomly, and I jumped at the chance. I wanted to go, and we went there. When we drove to the race, there were two other people in the car, and I didn't know that these people would become my good friends, especially Joe Kleinerman. Kurt Steiner was in the race, in the car. And so we got there the day before the run. Joe took me under his wing and we drove around the course. He showed me the hills. He told me how to pace myself. He said to relax. He gave me other pointers. And I don't think he knew I would run real well the next day, but I thought he felt I could do okay. So we got on the course the next day, and I said, I'm just going to follow what he said, relax and enjoy it, and run. And so I ran the whole way. I did what he said, and near the end of the run, 12 miles, which I had not run a whole lot before, I was in second place, and the leader was not far, and I was fast on the track, and it was a flat road, and there to me it was a track race. I just started kicking it in, and I passed the leader, came in first, and broke the course record.
Oh
I
my
still,
God.
I still remember Joe Kleinerman screaming my name in his megaphone or whatever you call that thing. And from then on, we became really good friends. He would always, be at all the races in New York. He would encourage me, talk to me. In years to come, for the 3 more years, I went back to Binghamton 12-mile run. Joe was there. You might wonder why he would be coming from New York to be an official, to be the starter and the finisher, along with Kurt. The reason was that in those days, there weren't a lot of races outside, long races. There were races, of course, but not long races outside of New York. And he wanted to, bring the feeling of running and friendship and whatever else belongs to this whole deal to other places. That's the way he was. And so he went there at least 3 more years because those are the 3 more that I went to those runs. And my father started to go. He went for the next 3 too. Joe and my father became great buddies. Whenever they
Oh,
would see
that's
each other
funny.
racing, they'd be talking and so yeah. So he
So
wanted to
you
bring.
you went from running 3 or 4 miles and then win a 12-mile race.
Yes,
That's incredible. Now, when you
I
drove
think
home,
I'm pretty sure I did run. I did run an I ran in New York the year before, and it was a long run and it was a hot day, and I don't think I did well. But yeah, essentially to really compete in a long run, I went from running the 3, 4 miles to winning that run. Yes.
so after that race, did you all drive home together,
Oh
Joe,
yeah,
Kurt, and you? And were they absolutely thrilled for you?
absolutely, absolutely. So that first day that I went to the run, the first time, I slept on the floor. After that, Joe would not allow me to sleep on his
Oh,
floor, I'm sure.
did they,
We
when you were
saw.
driving to the race, did they give you any tips? Did they have
Yeah, that's what I
anything that
mentioned.
you were going to do well?
Maybe not when driving, but when we went over the course, by then, the day we got there, we went over the course, and that's when I really got a lot of input from Joe.
Hmm. And,
Yeah,
and Kurt was also officiating? What was
he
Kurt
was
doing?
efficient.
He was officiating.
I can't remember for sure what he did. I can't remember.
Oh, wow.
Years later, and maybe we'll get back to running in Central Park. And in 1968, I won a nice big race. Uh, Kurt and Joe did not see the finish of that run. They came walking along the road in Central Park, and they Joe said to me, "How did you do?" And I said, "I won." He
Ah,
said, he said, he screamed. He said, "I knew you could do it."
they were great personalities
Oh my God.
and lifelong friends, it seems.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So, what was the next big race? The August 64 race.
That was the 25K, which was a national championship, and it started in the World's Fairgrounds,
Oh, was that the milk run?
and it was the milk run.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, it was the milk run national championship.
And it was only 2 months after Binghamton.
It was like 2 months later. And so, I what happened there? I'm going to go to my notes to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Notes are good.
1964,
Notes are
milk
good.
run, 25 kilometers. Okay, it was a hot day. Let me read from my notes
Okay.
because I don't want to miss all the details. It was a hot day, and I saw good runners like Fred Best slow to a walk because of the heat. With 3 miles left, Ted Corbett and Jim McDonough passed me,
Now
but
wait,
I
stop right
held
there. Stop right there. Did you know or had you met Ted?
no.
No, but did you know of Ted?
I knew of him, so I
Okay.
recognized him.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but I didn't know how great a person he was, and even how much he had run. So they passed me. With 3 miles left, Ted and Jim McDonough passed me, but I held on. Near the end, I passed them back. And at the very end, I passed Norbert Sanders. Later, I learned Sanders had led most of the race, but had collapsed because of the heat and still got up to finish. The winner of the run was John J. Kelly, an Olympic marathoner in 1956 and 1960. I finished fifth. And for a while, I didn't, realize the significance of this. I was fifth. However, here's where it comes. Here's where it all started. However, after the award ceremony, I heard where I received a national AAU medal. Um, Ted Corbett came over to me. I didn't know him until then. He congratulated me. and talked about the significance of the national award. He asked me about my training, offered some suggestions, and told me he thought I could do well as a runner. Our talk gave me an unimaginable boost. I am convinced that his words helped to propel me to train for and to win the 1968 version of the Milk Run, which was at that time a New York City Metropolitan Championship, a 25-kilometer run. 4 years later, after that first Milk Run that I ran.
So that was your first encounter with Ted.
Huh?
That was your first encounter with Ted.
That was my first encounter, yeah.
Yeah.
After that, after that talk with Ted, we interacted a number of times. I remember one time in particular, I was running in a race somewhere in New York. Again, it was hot. It was lot of hot races.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than
That's
the
New York in
heat and
August.
the other than the heat and the high grass through which the path went, I can't remember more details, except I felt pretty much alone.
Mm.
I was so hot, I started to walk. Then, from seemingly out of nowhere, Ted appeared. He stopped running because he didn't want to pass me up. He wanted to help me and walked with me. He didn't have any water, but somehow he invigorated me. And soon after, we were talking and running together to the finish line.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
That was Ted. He was always a very generous person. You know, if he saw somebody that needed help, he'd be the first one to offer it. Yeah.
I I know.
And he must have seen something in you because he could tell. He was that type of person. He kind of had that extrasensory perception for knowing a good runner.
Yeah. The only one sad thing I have about leaving New York, uh, after I stopped running in 1968 in New York, um, because I didn't know more about him. I couldn't train with him. That's one thing I wish I had been able to train with him because I think I would have picked up so much.
Oh, you could have done his 25-mile runs around Manhattan.
I know. That's what I thought.
Yeah, but you know
But I
that
thought,
race, that 1964 milk run had some amazing people, and Norb Sanders went on to be a wonderful runner.
well, he could have won that race, I'm sure, because he led it the whole way. And if it wasn't hot, there's a good chance. I think there's a good chance he could have won it. And he was just a college runner up until about then, I think.
So, did you know when you started this race who your competition would be? Did you know that John Kelly or Norb Sander or Ted could have possibly beaten you or been out there that you were gunning for?
Well, I knew about, let's see, when did it occur? Yeah, John Kelly,
He,
a
of course,
great runner from New England. He won, but I had already competed against him, I guess. I think I had
against John.
yeah,
John
because
was formidable.
yeah, be,
He was a good friend of mine, and he actually at one point we were talking about his running, and he told me about that 1964 milk run.
mm,
And well, you first of all, you couldn't be sponsored by anyone, but the milk company that sponsored that race asked him later on if they could take some pictures of him with a glass of milk. And he was sitting under the tree with his two daughters. And again, that hot day, he was just so tired, so hot, and he's sitting under the tree. And the two guys from the milk company came over and they said, we'd like you to drink this glass of milk. And he
oh
said,
my God,
there's absolutely no way. I'll throw up if I drink that milk right now. I'm hot and I just, want to race. So his daughters started laughing and they said, "Oh, Dad, we know what we can do with the milk." So they took the glass of milk and they poured it over his head. And as he's explaining this to me, he said, I could literally feel it curdle as it
oh
came down
my,
my
oh
face. It was
my
that
God,
hot.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, he was a great runner and he had some very funny stories.
Hmm.
And Ted, no one who knew Ted uh could escape what a gentle person he was and
Yeah,
how giving he was of all his information. Um if you had asked, he would have given you more tips. He would have given you a massage. He would have done anything he could to help you out.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next big race you want to talk about is the Cherry Tree Marathon, which was the precursor of the New York City Marathon, in February of 65.
Yes. Okay. So, um, I I trained more distance between these races, and I got in pretty good shape, and I ran my first marathon, and I never really, for a long time, considered myself a runner who was good at running beyond say the 25K
Even
because I
after
never
winning, even after those two big races, so you won,
because
and the other one you came in fifth.
well, especially later after I left in 1968, I just trained um, for distances up to maybe 25K or so. I never really, when you run a marathon, you got to run more than 18 miles, and
Oh
I and I didn't do that uh, except two times in my whole career where I trained that distance over 18 miles. One time was for that race you just mentioned, the one, what's the Cherry Tree Marathon. And then again, when I was 40 years old, I trained, we're 41, I trained for the Dublin Marathon. And those are the only two times I trained over 18 miles until I went later on into ultra marathoning when I was like 65 or something. But there was only really, but I ran marathons, but I ran and at the end I would end up walking. Two times I didn't walk. Those are the two times I ran 18 miles or more in training.
yeah.
And so after the 25K in New York in 64, I started training long for a while. I ran at least one 26-mile run in training with a fellow named Bob Rothenberg, who was at Brown University. He was in good shape. He was a track runner, cross country runner. We ran 26 miles together.
All right, so
And
wait, where are you living at this point? Are you living in New Jersey?
no, for 1 year I did graduate work at Brown University.
Oh,
I guess maybe I never mentioned that to you.
no, no. So were you commuting down from Providence?
Well, no, I had a room there in a in the town in the city, and I would go in from there. But the problem with this, one of the problems with it was I was so intrigued by running and the people in running that I was training too much at Providence. I mean at Brown, and that's why I left after. I wasn't asked to leave, but I left and I went. I was going to be a teacher, so I took a MAT from Fairleigh Dickinson, and I wasn't going to get my PhD in physics. And because of that year when I was just running too much, but I did run a lot, and I trained hard for a long distance run, a marathon, and I ran in the Churchill Marathon in 1965, and I was ready for it. And
Well, Providence has a lot of hills. You could have done some hard training up there.
I did. I remember the hills.
Yeah.
I do, and I remember one workout with Bob Rothenberg. We ran up a hill right at the end of the workout, and he tried to leave me, and I tried to leave him. It was just a race in itself, and I think he won. But anyway, um, so getting back to the story, we I ran with two team members from Central Jersey Track Club. One of them was George Sheehan,
Well,
and
wait,
the
stop
other
right
one.
there. How did you get into the Central Jersey Track Club if you're like I have you in Providence and then I have you in New
No,
York?
no, no. See
Get
that
involved with that.
I was training, but I traveled from Providence to New York, and I was in the Central Jersey Track Club. As of a few months before, in the summertime, I joined the club, but I didn't know the club members that well. One of
Okay.
them was George Sheen.
Okay. All right. Just trying to clarify how you got from New Jersey to Providence. You could have run back and forth.
Yeah. Okay. So The other guy was what's his name? Uh, uh, um, I gotta look.
Ed
I know
Ayers?
the name
No, Johnny
Ed Ayers.
Ed Ayers.
Okay, I know the name very well. It's just that in this excitement, I couldn't pick it up. Okay, Ed Ayers and George Sheehan.
Okay.
And in those days, they had a team competition where they would add up your times, the three times. The three people on a team. They'd add up the time, and then they would compare that to other teams that were in the race. And we came in first in that event.
So the three of you formed your own little team within the team.
Yes, for the race, just for the race, we were the three-man team that entered the race. And little did I know at that point that Ed Ayers would go on to be a great influence on other people. And because he not well, first of all, one of the things he did was to win. I think it was the 1977 JFK 50K run,
Hmm.
50 50-mile run.
Yeah, in
Okay,
1977.
77. And then George, of course, went on to be a great philosopher and runner and helper of people with all of
Mhm.
his fine ideas. And I have a quote that I want to mention because I think it's very important and I want to read it. Don't be concerned if running or exercise will add years to your life. Be concerned with adding life to your years.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And that's what I don't run because I want to live longer. I want to run to see the people there. I want to run to enjoy the running, to be live, to move, you know. And
Oh, the
I
running community is a wonderful community. It's filled with not only like-minded people, and they're the only groups that want to hear your race stories over and over and over again. But they're very, we understand it. We get it, what it's like to put in the training, to challenge yourself, to leave it all on the track. We're the only people that understand that.
yeah, yes. And I've been reading about you too, and I know where you come from. I
Uh-oh.
wish I had known you a
Uh-oh.
long time
Those are
ago.
fighting words, Jim.
Okay.
So now in that Cherry Tree Marathon, did Ed and George run with you?
No, no, the way they did it was they added up your times and then they did that with the other teams, added up to three times, and whichever time was the lowest was the winner of the team event.
Okay. So they didn't run the Cherry Tree with you.
We ran at the same time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We ran the event.
Okay. So
We
what do
all
you
ran
remember? What do you remember about that? It was the year you ran it, it was held in Central Park?
Churchill Marathon. No, I don't think so. No.
Um, I thought in your notes it said that it was in Central Park in February of 65.
Okay, that's true.
Okay.
Okay. I think it was true. Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
okay. That's all right. I mean, the cherry tree went from being outside the park to inside the park, so
Mhm,
it,
mhm.
gets a little confusing there with the cherry tree marathon. But I know
Yeah.
it was supposed to be a really tough marathon before it came into the park. The one that was held outside was really
Mhm,
tough. Do you
mhm.
remember anything about running that race?
Uh, I remember that I ran the first 20 miles at 6 minutes a mile, and I ran. This is
That's
the
a
only
fast
thing.
pace.
And then I ran the last six at 7 minutes a mile. That's the only thing else I could remember. I don't remember the course a whole lot, except it was somewhat hilly. Yeah,
Well, yeah, well,
that's
Central
about
Park
it.
is
Although
hilly.
I can tell you my time was 2:42, and that's not bad for your first marathon.
That's incredible. Who won the marathon? Do you remember? How did you place?
I don't know. Well, I was the first novice, but I can't remember other details right now. I could look it up in my running log. Too bad I don't have it right with me.
That's all right. But with that time, you probably placed, up there, top
I
tier.
would, I did okay.
Okay.
And then the only other time I mentioned it before that I really trained for a marathon was when I was on leave from teaching for a semester and a summer, and then I went to Dublin, and I came in 150th out of 11,000, and I ran almost the same exact time that I had run when I was 21, and at that time I was 41.
Wow. And that race, doesn't it end on cobblestone?
Yes,
Yeah,
there's a
a
lot
lot
of stone. Yeah.
who thought that would be a good idea? All right, so the other race I want you to talk about because it includes, another New York road runner, a very famous, lovely New York road runner, is the 25K with Gary Murphy in when was that?
68.
68.
68.
So tell me
Yeah.
about that because,
Okay, so
the last time I saw Gary, I brought that up and he still remembered you.
oh, he did?
Yes.
Well, I remember him. We spent uh what was it, an hour and a half or whatever, together, very close. That's part of the story. So maybe that's the reason why he remembers me. But um, I um, I had been in pretty good shape because I was running a lot of short runs and getting in better and better shape that summer. One of the reasons why I wanted to get in good shape was because I had a feeling I wouldn't be running a lot more after that
Hmm.
run and after that part of the year because I was getting more and more heavily involved with my research at Rutgers.
Hmm.
And so I started the year by winning the indoor 3 mile run, uh, AAU championship for New Jersey. And I ran something like 15 minutes or something like that. And then, and so I knew I was okay with conditioning, and I further went on to make it better. I ran long distances. I got in good shape, and I was ready for that. I had run in races in New York, and Gary Murphy would always beat me, and so, and so and somewhere along the line, Gavin Jones would beat me. He whipped me in a 6 mile run on the track in the Yonkers, I think it was. And so when I got to the race, they were both there,
Oh,
Gary Merrick and Gavin Jones. So I said, "This is my chance. I'm going to do my best and just stick with whoever's in the lead and do my best to stay there all the way."
okay. So
And
where was this race, Jim? Where did it take place?
which one was it? It was the
The 25K with Gary?
Central Park.
Oh, it's in Central Park. Okay.
Yeah. So it was in Central Park, and it was a hot day. And
Of
I don't
course.
think they, again, and I don't think they gave out a lot of water.
Probably not.
Um, and because at the end, I was so, well, let's get not, we'll
Yeah.
get to that
Let's get
later.
through the race first.
Okay, so I knew these two people were going to be running hard, and I decided to stick with everyone was in the lead just as far as I could possibly make it. And so we started running. Gary ran the first mile in 5 minutes, and I was right behind him. And then I pulled up alongside of him because he slowed up. He figured he was going to keep that pace up in that heat. And so I just ran alongside of him, and we went another mile or so, and then he took off again. But I stuck with him, caught him, and we kept going. We didn't see Gavin Jones.
So the
And
two of you have this friendly little competition going.
oh my gosh, it went on for, I think he did it like 3 times where he picked up the pace and I picked up and I went with him. After that, maybe at the 8 mile mark or so, I don't know, we started just running together, side by side, not talking, just running. And we just kept going. And we got to the end of the run and I outkicked him. And I came in first. And I still to this day say that that was the best race of my life.
Wow. So how far behind was Gary? Were we talking seconds?
Gary, no, yeah, your seconds. He was like 10, 15 seconds. I don't know, something like
Wow,
that.
right off your shoulder.
And Gavin Jones was a minute and a half back.
So did you both collapse and, have
It
some
was one of
words?
the, it was, I think it's the only time I ever vomited after a race. Yeah, I did that. I went away from people and I did it. I turned around, started walking down the hill, and there, as I said before, was Joe Kleinerman and Kurt Steiner.
Oh,
And
jeez.
and Joe said to me, "How did you do?" And I said, "I won." And he said, "I knew you could do it."
Ah, but did you have words with Gary after the race?
We didn't talk.
No?
It's amazing. I don't know why, but we didn't talk. I wish to this day we had talked, but we didn't talk.
Yeah. Huh, interesting. Well, Gary
Mm.
was a great runner. I mean, he did win the very first New York City Marathon. So,
Yeah,
um,
whenever anybody asks me to tell the story about my best run, I tell them about Gary Murphy, and then I say, and he was the first winner of the New York City
that's right.
Marathon.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow, kudos to you. That's bragging rights that you beat Gary Murphy.
Yeah.
So, so we started this out by saying that these five men, Kurt Steiner, Joe Kleinerman, George Sheehan, to some degree, Gary Murphy, changed your life, shaped your life. Talk more about that.
Okay, good question. When I was young, I didn't really have a good direction that I wanted to go. I knew I was interested in physics, but what would I do with it? And I decided to go into teaching. And I think, and from teaching, uh, I learned how to. I mean, I knew more about how to deal with people. I grew in that regard, and how to make friends, and how to help others. And I'm sure that if I hadn't been a runner in that time we had just talked about, in those in the mid 1960s, I don't think I'd be the same person today that I am.
Mm.
I mean, be the person that I am today because I met the finest running. I've met the finest group of people in the world. I think runners, and I grew from that. I learned from that. And those people that you just mentioned were the people who, well, beside my parents, I had good parents, really good parents. But beside my parents, those people directed me in the way I wanted to live my life. And so, where am I going with this?
No, I love where you're going with this because they were huge, to use a modern word that we didn't have back then. They were huge influencers of your life. And
Yeah,
maybe it was because they were so positive that they helped you, they encouraged you. I mean, you got running tips from the top. You got them from Ted Corbett. They were all like John Kelly. They were all very giving people. And maybe
that's it.
that rubbed off on you. Maybe
Yeah,
you wanted to be like them. I mean, they were wonderful mentors.
yes. And because of your discussion today, I started to think about all of that and what other things I've done to follow in their footsteps. And for instance, when I started teaching, well, teaching in itself is great. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm glad I
Great
became a
vocation.
teacher. And all of those early things I learned helped me I think to become a good teacher.
Hmm.
But I really also when I was teaching physics, um, I also taught astronomy to students who were not math inclined even. I helped them. I got more out of it than they did maybe because I felt good about it.
Hmm.
While I was teaching astronomy, I used a planetarium for teaching, but I gave so many planetarium shows to high school kids, it's unbelievable.
That's
And
wonderful.
like one every other week. They would all after a while they all wanted to come to see the planetarium,
Yeah.
and the teachers were bringing them in. You know, they're all the
Well,
third graders in the area and stuff like that.
Jimmy, to use it sounds like a very trite metaphor, but during your running career, you reached for the stars
Hmm.
and then you studied.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's good. I'll have to
But
remember that.
yeah, but also the thing we learn from running and from competition and from the mentors that we talked about is you learn discipline. You
Hmm.
learn how to dig deep in times when you don't think you can, run another minute. And
Hmm.
those things are helpful. I mean, teaching is not an easy profession.
Not at all.
So I mean, I'm sure you were an incredible teacher as well.
Well, I really enjoyed it. And there's a side story to that. I retired in 2006. My name is James Carmen Lombardi. I have a son named James Carmen Lombardi. When I retired from teaching, he he took the job.
No
James Carmen
way.
Lombardi.
Oh,
There's still James Carmen Lombardi teaching at the college, Allegheny College. Some people think I'm still there.
what does he teach?
Physics and astronomy.
That is hysterical.
Yeah. Now,
Wow.
my wife also worked at the college with computers and people. She helped people who were not computer inclined to learn how to use computers to do their job.
Geez.
So
You got a house full of teachers.
so she worked there 34 years. So that adds to 68. We have
Yeah.
told Jamie that he has to work 32 years at least to make it be a hundred-year total.
Well, there's another goal, and I'm sure you'll reach it. So after you left New York in 1968, which was I'm assuming the end of your time there and meeting the Kurt Steiners and the Ted Corbetts, you kept running, but you got into ultras, and I know you do want to talk about your ultras.
Okay, so there's a lot there. Um, I have a good friend who also worked at Allegheny College who was running 100-mile runs when I first learned about him, and but I didn't know him very well. It was just had been there a short time, and he approached me and he said, "Jim, you want to be my crew for a 100-mile run at the Mohican 100 in Ohio?" And I said, "Sure, but okay, I'll do it. You just tell me what to do." So he picks me up. Well, Jim since then has become a very close friend, but I didn't know him at the time. But we went to the run. Before we left, he showed me what he had in his trunk, and it was just filled with stuff to eat. And
Stuff.
so, so we get to the race, and he tells me, "Okay, at this point, and it's 100 miles. There must have been a lot of rest stops there." And he said, "At this one, you give me this. At that one, you give me something else." And okay, I followed all his directions. So after maybe the third rest stop, the first couple he went through just grabbing something, but not a lot. But getting to around the third or fourth rest stop, waiting. The first runner comes through. I was Jim's only crew. This guy had like four people, and one would put the chair down, and he sat, and then others would just give him food, and a lot. By the middle of the run, they were eating hamburgers, pizza,
Oh my
Coke,
God.
you know,
Oh,
and it was just a crazy event, and I loved it. But I didn't think I could eat that much. But I found out by asking after, well, how many calories do you eat during a run? It was like 10,000, and which is a lot.
that's a lot.
And just to get it all down, and that intrigued me too, because for a long time I had been doing experiments, and to do an experiment, you have to really prepare for that experiment.
Hmm.
You have to plan it. You have to know what you're going to eat. You're going to have to know where the hills are. You're going to have to know all this stuff. And then finally you run it. And if you've done a good job preparing, then your experiment works well. And
Yeah.
this was just up my alley because that's what I had done all my life in physics. I loved the whole idea. And so within a year, I had already run 33 miles an endurance run, and Jim was there too. And then another month after that, I ran the JFK.
So
50.
you got hooked on ultras.
Yeah, that's how I got hooked on ultras.
Yeah, a lot of people do, and I love how you combined physics and everything you love to learn about into ultras because it really is a science to
Yeah,
to stay on
yeah.
your feet that long and that what you have to consume.
One of the friends of mine was John Garlap, and I met him in New York. I think he was actually from New Jersey, but I would always meet him at runs. And he told me about ultra marathoning, in the 1960s, and I just was intrigued by it, but I didn't imagine I would ever do anything like that. And it, yeah, yeah. But
How well did you get to know John Garlip? Because
I
there's
would
another,
consider him I would consider him a good friend.
he
As
just
a matter,
passed.
huh?
He just passed.
I know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that. So when I was running maybe my fifth ultra, it was a 50-mile run around Canandaigua Lake in New York. It's one of the Great Lakes. And before I ran there and I called him, he was happy to hear my voice. He remembered me, and I certainly had remembered him from what he would tell me about. Oh, back in New York, I'm jumping around now. Back in New York, he told me about running with Ted Corbett and others in the London to Brighton run.
Oh,
So
right.
I and there was Gary Murphy. I think he even did it, and I think that. And that's why I called him. I wanted to know what he knew about running long runs, and he was very open to what he did. And one of my key questions was, "What do you drink? What did you drink?" They didn't have Gatorade back then.
Oh.
He said we drink D-Fizz Coke. We drank it, D-Fizz
Oh.
Coke, and I said, "Well, that sounds like it might be good." And so and in that same conversation, he told me about how he was helping runners. He was an old guy now, like I was too,
He was a
then.
great coach, a great
And he,
coach.
he was coaching people, and that stuck with me actually. And that stuck with me, and I wasn't helping a lot of runners in those and when I did that, and that wasn't that many years ago, maybe 20 or something. Um, that that he was helping runners, you know. I
Mhm.
was basically still just running and enjoying the atmosphere and the people, but I hadn't really helped other runners. But let's get back to that story later.
Oh, very
Um,
good. I just want to say John Garlop was, a huge name in New York Roadrunners. And for the last, I don't know how many years of his life, he coached the Milrose teams. And
yeah, yeah.
they loved him, absolutely loved him.
We had a long conversation that day, and I just had a feeling that was the case
Yeah.
from what he was telling me, and that stuck with me too.
Hmm.
Um, And so I I ran this lake, a run around the lake, the Canandaigua Lake, and I got to about the uh, I think it was around the 38-mile mark, and I just started walking. I was so tired, and I had asked Mary Jane, my crew. Mary Jane is my wife. She's followed me through all of these things I've told you about. I mean,
Must be
since we
very
got
patient.
she's very patient, and she would do everything I told her. If I said, to give me certain things in an ultra, she'd be right there. And I had told her maybe around the 5-mile mark, give me this bottle, and it was D-Fizz Coke. And I didn't really know how much it would work, but I figured maybe right at the end where I needed it, I'd used it. So around the 38-mile mark, I had to walk. And I walked for 2 miles to the 40-mile mark where there was a rest stop. Mary Jane was there and she was going to give me Gatorade or something. I said, give me that bottle of Coke. I drank it really fast because my body just absorbed it.
Yeah.
And so I walked another half mile. I got such a feeling of strength and power. I started running fast and I ran and I finished it. I did that. I ran my fastest 50-mile ever.
based on a defizzed Coke. Now there's something for your physics class to learn.
Huh?
There's something for your
Yeah.
class. Um, so when did you stop?
And you know, later on, yeah,
No, I was just wondering
go
when did
ahead.
you, are you still doing ultras?
I'd like to, and one of the reasons I like to is because uh, here I'm going to brag a little bit.
Okay,
Um,
go ahead.
I have reached I have almost every workout, if not all of them, in a log somewhere. I'll show you this log. This one I just picked up off the pile. It has a number 2 on the top. I don't know. You can't see it. We're not visual here.
Yes,
So
we are. Yep, you
okay. So
yep,
so
you can
this
look it
this
up.
this says June 23rd, 1963 to June 22nd, 1964. And you open the log up, and it has clippings, like clippings. I don't know if
Oh
you can see
wow.
them. Okay. And
Yeah.
but it has all these workouts, and I have every workout. Why did I want to say that? There's a reason for it. Yeah.
Did you subscribe to any running magazines? Did you get time?
I got Runner's World for a long time, but I also got Running Times.
Okay. All right. Um,
And yeah.
and when I was cleaning out Ted Corbett's apartment, which took about a year, I was shocked back in the 40s and 50s and even into a little bit of the 60s, the amount of newspapers, first of all, the amount of newspapers that were out there, and that they
Yeah.
all covered running. I mean, they covered
Hmm.
everything from high school to marathons. There'd be a whole column in every newspaper that Ted collected about running. And now, I mean, we barely have newspapers, and no one,
Hmm.
no one
Hmm.
writes about running.
Isn't it
So
amazing?
when you showed that clipping, I was like, oh my gosh, a newspaper clipping.
I have a few of them, not a whole lot, but I have some that are interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny, you sent me your racing highlights. And as I'm scrolling through them, in 64, you ran the Ocean Beach 12 mile and got outkicked by John Kelly again.
Hmm.
But that
Hmm.
was his home turf. I run that race every year. It's a
Oh,
lot
do
of fun.
you?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
now it's called the John J. Kelly, it's a half
Wow.
marathon now.
Right.
And then all right, so we did the
I
milk
remember
run.
that one very vividly because uh, I was sandwiched between two Olympians, John Kelly, and what was the other guy's name that came in third? Abe Fornes,
Eight Horns. Yeah. He was a
or
marathoner
Fornes.
from Puerto
He,
Rico.
he from Puerto Rico. He ran in the 1964 marathon
Yeah.
in the
And
Olympics.
then again, you got outkicked by Kelly 3 times.
I know.
What
That
else?
was in the 50. That was in a 30-kilometer run. The third one, I think.
Yeah. Oh, here's another big name, Norm Higgins.
Hmm.
Higgins won the second New York City Marathon in 71, and you ran against him in 68 at the Clove Lakes Park, Staten Island.
That was a short run. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
short. I
Uh,
ran my best 3-mile run there, I think.
and then here's another one. Oh, you ran a race the eighth day of your honeymoon. Really?
Well, I wasn't in shape then. Did
Yeah, because of the
Okay,
honeymoon?
so do you want to hear a story about it?
Sure. I'm sure Mary Jane would love
Okay,
to know.
believe it or not, it was a hot day. And so that was in 1970, and I wasn't in great shape then, but I was still running some. And we had been married,
For
and
8 days.
8 days. And I said, Mary Jane, I ran in this race. It's on Route 11. We just have to travel. We were in the Poconos. We just have to travel north, and our last day of the honeymoon. Would you mind if we go to it? And so we went up to Binghamton, and so I did a run there 5 times. And so we got to the race, and people actually remembered me, and
Aw.
and so I knew they were expecting maybe I'd be able to run fast, but not me.
Yeah,
So
well,
well, I
you're a
started
little
running.
older and you were on your honeymoon.
He said it was hot again, and it was really really hot, and I was running on the course, and Mary Jane would meet me at every place again, of course, and she came and she was handing me a cup of water, and I had been drinking water so much of it that I didn't need it and I didn't want it. And I put out my hand, but then I forgot it. I said, no, never mind. I just didn't want it. And I kept running. And so about a quarter mile later, I hear this noise clip, clop, clip, clop, clip, clip. I turn around and there's Mary Jane with a cup running after me. Okay. So she's running after me and, and she's stopping because she ran out of gas. And so she hands it to another runner and she says, bring it up to that guy up there.
That's
So
devoted wife.
he grabs the cup and he starts going towards me and he looks in the cup. He says, it's empty.
You're lucky she didn't throw that water in your face. Uh,
So whenever I tell that story, I call it the clip clop story
oh, that's
because
funny.
of her shoes. She
Yeah.
was running in some kind of sandals and I could hear it for a long distance.
And then in 1971, like the following year, you went back to Ocean Beach Park with a 6-week-old son.
Yeah, that's our Jamie.
Yeah.
We
Uh,
have two kids. One is Jamie and the other one's Laura. They're both nice people. And
gosh.
Jamie was only a few weeks old. And I ran okay. I think
Yeah.
I wasn't in the top 10. You know, they always give out these beautiful pewter mugs. I don't know if they
Yeah.
still
No, I have a
do it.
couple. They're really nice awards. They're
No,
still giving them out.
I have like three or four of them from other races that I ran there. And uh, I didn't get an award uh, officially, but after the run, the officials gave me a cup
Aw.
because I had returned.
I have returned with the sun. In summing up, Jim, it does sound like your running life could be a book. I mean, you've had so many wonderful years of running. As you said, it has influenced your entire life, your marriage. Do you have any final words to say about, you know, your running life?
Uh, I think that the running life is more about people than running. And I say that for sure. If there was something else that people enjoy and get into and it helps them meet people, that's their thing. They should do it. And because we all need that. And I realize now as I'm getting older and older, I need it even more because I need more support for stuff. And
Mhm.
so it's good to be good to people because they'll be good to you. That's kind of selfish in a way, but it's still the way I think it should be.
Yeah, no, that's a great philosophy. Well,
Mhm.
I am so happy you shared all those stories with us, Jim. They're really they're great stories and a really dedicated life you have led.
Well, thank you very much, and good luck with your life and all that you're doing. I appreciate the call, and I appreciate everything you're doing.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Take
Okay,
care.
take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.